Okay, so new book. We're in the Jelly Bean book, Fred's Jelly Bean book. We're on chapter 1, and Fred, as you know, has been talking to groups of people he was at Stan Anthony's, and he gave a speech on, what was he giving a speech on? There's a pizza place, and he was into ice cream, and you remember that whole story. So it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so it would be 1 o'clock p.m., when Fred gets an invitation from the Polka Dot Publishing to be the keynote speaker at the Math and Pizza Conference, which is at 4 p.m. So we've already talked about this because that was part of the ice cream book. And we already know that he had 3 hours to prepare. If I can spell hours. To prepare a 45-minute speech on math or pizza. We can wonder, did Fred spend all of his minutes carefully preparing for his presentation? I don't think so if you remember the story. What we have, though, what we need to figure out is he has, so from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock is 3-hour difference. I could subtract 1 o'clock from 4 o'clock and get 3 hours. I know there are 60 minutes in an hour. I need to memorize this, hint, hint, hint. And I have 3 hours. This is right there, 3 hours. So I have, as a visual, I have 60 minutes for 1 hour, another 60 minutes for 2 hours, another 60 minutes for 3 hours. I could add these together, or I can multiply, which would be faster, and my answer is going to be 180 minutes. In that time, Fred should have carefully prepared his presentation. He should have started with sitting down and writing an outline, but no, he did not. As you recall, he spent, I don't know if these were the shoes or the bow tie that he decides on, but he spent 25 minutes trying to decide which shoes and bow tie. Remember, we matched them up. We had all different kinds of crazy. And then he spent some time talking about his sleeping bag. Does that look like a sleeping bag? Don't think so. He talked about honey cards, which you need to take home if you haven't done that, because you need to be able to recreate that yellow multiplication by February 1st. So make sure you're taking that home and practicing it. He's talked about bees, and he talked about countries surrounding the Mediterranean Sea, all of which we talked about in ice cream, but he wasted a whole bunch of time here. He also sort of went crazy talking about ice cream, thinking about ice cream. He had spent time he spent an hour going and buying an ice cream maker. Then he was 20 minutes at the grocery store buying the ingredients, and then he was 10 minutes helping Stan Anthony determine the perimeter of his restaurant for Christmas lights. So he did a lot in this time, none of which was to prepare for his speech. At 3:05, you may remember that he climbed on top of the ice cream machine and found the instruction manual. He got the machine started. He wandered over and around to that Pizza Buttons booth, and he bought some buttons. At 3:40. The ice cream had been served, and he visited a brass brace booth and bought some braces, and then he ordered his pizza. And at 5 minutes till 3:55, he stopped in front of a television and watched part of a movie. That's a TV. And then at 4 o'clock, he walked up to the speaker's platform, and he greeted a person named Elaine Marie, and she was from the Polka Dot Publishing Company, and she had been sent there to act as the Master of Ceremonies. And this is Elaine Marie here, the Master of Ceremonies. Fred walked up there, and now I remember, he straightened his pink bow tie, and he told Elaine Marie what his speech was going to be about. Elaine, Fred, what is your speech about? Fred, ice cream. What? Okay. So she, it's not staying. She addresses the people at the conference. And Elaine says to all these people at the math and pizza conference that Fred will be speaking on the subject of ice cream. Yay! And we're going to have an ice cream party soon. Now, Fred had assumed that when someone introduces someone, they might talk a little bit longer, and he thought he would have some minutes while he's standing there before he had to go on stage. But instead, that's all she said. Here's Fred, basically. So he doesn't have any time. Instead, he hears the people clapping. Can you hear? And the room gets very quiet, and the spotlight's on him, and he felt very little. He felt about an inch tall because he had wasted all afternoon when he could have prepared his speech, and he had wasted all 180 minutes. Now, one thing Fred wants you to remember is little babies don't fritter away anything. They spend 100% of their time doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Eating, crawling around, playing with their toes, and sleeping. Now, according to Fred, babies spend their time eating, crawling, sleeping, and eating their toes. Yeah, that sounds like fun. But when you grow up, there are two things you can fritter away. You can waste your time, or you can waste your money. Neither one of them is very good. If you spend your money on little trinkets and silly stuff, then suddenly you won't be able to pay rent or buy a car or have any money to take care of your family. So wasting your time is something that is not good. If you waste your time and money, you're going to have on your gravestone, and on your gravestone, you might have the words, I just amused myself my whole life. Didn't accomplish much, but I amused myself.